So I normally don't do 2 uploads in a single day, but this was some pretty, I don't want to say it's news because it's not news. It is 110% a rumor, and I really need to emphasize that the likelihood of this rumor, it's probably not real. It's probably not going to happen, but just in case it is, and because I'm starting to see it circulate around, maybe it's circulating around because it's just, giving people something to talk about, or maybe it's because there may actually be some truth to it. And what rumor am I talking about? It has to do with apparently Sony in talks to acquire Take-Two Interactive. Now, just take a second to process that, right? Sony buying Take-Two Interactive. Yeah, it's a lot to take in if it's true, but again, we really have to, not jump to conclusions here and just assume that this is 100% false. But in my opinion, it's still worth talking about because it makes for some very, very interesting conversation and speculation. So it says here, you know how Microsoft has been going around acquiring a whole bunch of major developers to try and bolster their first party, which has fallen immensely behind relative to Sony and Nintendo? Well, it looks like Sony may be gearing up to do something to regain their lead if the newest rumor, which should be taken with a huge grain of salt, is to be believed. Joel Kulina, hopefully I'm saying that right, head of technology and media trading at Wedbush Securities, has reported via MarketWatch that Sony is currently in high-level discussions to acquire Take-Two, the parent company of Rockstar and 2K Games, the publishers of titles such as Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto, Civilization, XCOM, and NBA 2K. The deal is apparently going to be, quote, mostly cash, which sounds a bit absurd because attempting to purchase a company valued as high as Take-Two in mostly cash would deplete all of Sony's, not PlayStation's, but all of Sony's cash reserves in one fell swoop. But maybe Sony feels that it's worth the risk of having Grand Theft Auto exclusive to their machine. So the editor here goes on to say, to me, this sounds extremely unlikely, especially given Take-Two's previous assertions that they want to be everywhere with where their customers are, which is going exclusive to just one console would go against that, and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is probably not true, but we have to think, if this were to be true, right? Like if this was actually a thing that was going on right now, if Sony was actually talking with Take-Two right now about the possibility of acquiring them, there really is a lot of there's really not much here to make you really kind of wrap your head around why Sony would do this, other than the fact that they would be able to get games like, or IPs like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead and many others, obviously, and potentially make them exclusive. But there's a lot of problems here with this idea. The first was already mentioned here, where the amount of money that would be required for Sony to make this happen, it would be absurd. Like, we have to understand Sony's a big company, but they are not Microsoft here. They're not Amazon. They're not Apple. Okay, so I don't know. Like, it probably would drain them, but you also have to think about the type of IP in Grand Theft Auto alone that they would be acquiring. But there's also something else you have to take into consideration if you even humor the idea of this actually becoming a reality. You have to think about the idea that they would make a game, let's say Grand Theft Auto 6, exclusive to the PlayStation 5. Well, that could also be a problem, because if you were Sony and you were thinking about, paying however much to acquire Take-Two Interactive, which would be very, very risky for the company as a whole. It would be huge. It would be the biggest risk I think that obviously they've ever taken if they actually did something like this. That would, they're probably looking at the numbers that a game like GTA 5 has made, that the amount of money it has made Take-Two Interactive. But you have to remember that that's on all platforms. So if Sony were to do this with the intention of making it exclusive, it would just be for the PlayStation platform at that point, and it would essentially potentially cut the revenue in half and make it so that they're making a lot less money off of these games than Take-Two Interactive was, and it could potentially be impossible for them to recoup the money that they would need to break even for a deal like this, let alone make a profit. But you also have to think of it this way. Again, just humoring the idea that this is real, this could be true, and if it did happen, I mean, who wouldn't buy a PlayStation after this, right? Like, who wouldn't just move from the platform they're currently on to PlayStation? I mean, if you think about it, if Sony is truly serious about maintaining the business model for their most successful endeavor, which has been PlayStation and is PlayStation. PlayStation is what keeps Sony afloat and keeps them thriving. You know, they have some other divisions that I don't think are doing nearly as well, not even close. PlayStation's their bread and butter. And if you think about, you know, the history of PlayStation and what they've done to get to the point that they're at, and to, you know, the idea of how they're going to continue to grow, knowing that they've went on record saying their infrastructure is not there and probably won't be there for a very long time to make, you know, cloud gaming, you know, really something as like a top tier offering that they have, or as a way that they want to compete with Project X Cloud and whatever Google streaming service is going to be, and whatever Verizon streaming service is going to be. Knowing all of this, maybe this could be real. Maybe this could be Sony's way of saying we need something huge. And I'm talking like, it doesn't get any bigger than Grand Theft Auto, talking about the gaming industry, right? It doesn't get any bigger than that. And if Sony had the potential to maybe drain their bank account, right, but they get something as coveted as Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption and all these other IPs, even, you know, NBA 2K, stuff like that, and they could make that exclusive to their platform, to their console, it would essentially ensure that nobody's going to be leaving PlayStation anytime soon, and pretty much anybody who's a gamer will be buying a PlayStation. And that's a pretty huge prospect, right? Like, that's a there's a lot of other things, obviously. You think about the microtransactions, you think about how Sony has struggled when it comes to games as a service, and it seems that they've been somewhat against it, which I think we're all happy about. But there's no denying that they are looking at the type of money that, you know, some successful games as a service are making, Grand Theft Auto Online being probably the most successful of all of them, even looking at NBA 2K, things like that, and what they're attempting to do with Red Dead Online, which it doesn't sound like it's going so well. I mean, I don't know. Could this be real? It's probably not. I mean, I know I keep saying that because to me it would be mind-blowing. It would be absolutely mind-blowing. It would be a little bit concerning as well, because again, the risk involved in something like this, if it happened, is immense. I mean, they're risking their entire company if they were to do this. I mean, they would be spending all of their money, basically. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it financially. I just know that Take-Two Interactive is worth a lot, and their IP, you know, Grand Theft Auto it's probably the most valuable IP in gaming, easily, or one of the most. It has to be. So you have to think about, like, the pros and cons here. And what I do know is that if this is something that's real, and Sony is actually, like, if this rumor is true and Sony's actually in high-level talks right now to possibly actually acquire Take-Two and all of their IP and their studios, they would have had to work out a lot of financial stuff and crunch a lot of numbers to even begin to you know, entertain the idea of making something like this possibly become a reality. But all I know is that this is a significant rumor that, if it does happen to somehow be true, I think it would really... I'll end the video with this. If this rumor's true, and it's a big if, and this actually goes through, and we find out somehow that Sony has acquired Take-Two Interactive and all of their publishers, you know, I don't know. I don't know what other gaming companies. I don't know what Microsoft would do. I guess Nintendo could, you know, but I just think about that impact for a second, man. Like, think about that news. I mean, it would be the biggest news since I don't even know what. It would be absolutely insane, and it really it really is almost it's like unbelievable. I mean, you can't really believe that, right? Like, I'm having a hard time believing this rumor because it just sounds like that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. Could you just imagine? Could you picture Grand Theft Auto 6 PS5 exclusive? Could you picture that? Because I'm having a hard time picturing that. I mean, who knows? Maybe Sony would just completely shift their model and do what Microsoft's doing. Maybe it would be like the Minecraft effect. If they did do this, maybe they would, you know, just release all of the IPs that Take-Two has. They would just continue to release it on all platforms. I doubt it. I mean, that's where things start to get a little weird here, because if Sony did that, there's no doubt they'd make a ton of money, way more than they would keeping it exclusive, but it kind of goes completely against their current business model that they've been growing. So I don't know. I know I'm a little all over the place in this video, but I'm a little pressed for time, but I really wanted to try to squeeze this video out and talk about it, because who knows, maybe we'll find out by tomorrow it's not true. I just find it very, very interesting, and it's one of these rumors that's so big and so unbelievable, but still so interesting to talk about the possibility if it's true. Man, what type of impact would that have, man? Anyway, that does it for the video. I'm starting to ramble now. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know whether or not you actually think this could be a possibility, and if it is, what type of impact you think it would have, and how Sony would go about it if they actually somehow acquired Take-Two Interactive. I will be very, very interested to see what you guys have to say. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Really helps it out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Hit the bell notification icon and share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.